Good afternoon, and this is Sunday, April 24th. I am Ronaldo McKenzie, and welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. Today, I sat down with Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer, distinguished sociologist, scholar, writer, and academic. Today, I sat down with Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer, and we discussed intersectionality, unions and social movement, organizations with young people now leading the charge, such as Amazon and Starbucks. Yet unions are still weak. We talked about fascism. We talked about the state of modern society and the future of society based on what's happening today with the Russian war and COVID. We talked about post-colonialism, dependence, and underdevelopment. Dependent capitalism, which is dependent development. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and the problem elections pose to progress and change. We talked about his life, his work, and thought for the future. We explored books such as Social Inequality, Economic Decline, and Plutocracy, An American Crisis by Dale L. Johnson. We explored the social origins of democratic socialism in Jamaica by Nelson and Novella Keith, James D. Cockcroft, and Andre Gunder, Frank and Dale Johnson's book. And we also looked at Imperialism and Unequal Development by Samir Amin. We looked at How to Read Donald Duck by Ariel Dorfman, which is about cultural imperialism. I hope that you are ready to listen to the amazing time that I had with Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer, distinguished sociologist, scholar, writer, academic, my mentor, and yes, my former head of my thesis. So we are so happy at the Neoliberal to be able to land this interview. We sat down with him at his home, one of his homes there in New Jersey, in Princeton, New Jersey, or should I say near Rocky Hill, New Jersey, or Franklin Township, New Jersey, and it was very revealing. So join us for this interview on the other side, right after these messages. Afternoon. I'm here with my professor and mentor and influence in my life, Professor Martin Oppenheimer. This is the guy that I met when I was at Penn, who taught me a lot of what I know as very influential figure in my life. I'm here with him at his home, Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer. How are you? We are talking about me and all things. And we're on my podcast. You're actually on the podcast.
I'm being dragooned into this podcast by my old pal.
Yes.
Ronaldo,
Definitely.
I have not seen for at least 10 years.
Yes, it's been quite a long time. Yes, is it 10 years? Yes, it's been 10 years.
I stopped teaching there at the end of the fall semester in 2012.
Yes, right. And I graduated in 2013 from Penn, University of Penn. And I know you wrote the Hate Handbook. I just saw that you wrote the Hate Handbook.
Oh, the Hate Handbook. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was before that.
Oh, was it that?
I think that was, that was 2008, I think.
Oh. I didn't know unless they did another publication, because I was looking for you online to see what new publication you had, and that came up. It looked like it was probably revised, with you as the editor. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to check that out. But you also wrote The State of Modern Society.
Oh, that's an old one.
Yes.
The State and Modern Society.
I have a copy of that,
Yeah.
the one that the edited one, the one that you were still editing.
Yeah. Oh well, I've written a bunch of other things since that time, but not a book. Articles and book reviews.
Yes. Okay. And I know you read my book as well. I actually gave you a copy of it. Did you like it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm familiar with the
Yes.
material by now.
Yes.
Because I've seen a number of earlier
That's true.
versions.
A lot of it is, yes, it is part of some of the work I've done. And I'm working on a new book now, Power, Privilege, Position, and Status.
That sounds very interesting.
It is a powerful book, and I'm studying, and I start this particular new book by studying historical literature, looking at Homer, Herodotus, the Hesiod, Theogony, those kind of works, looking at Anselm, Saint Augustine, Mesopotamia, looking at the documents and looking at the archives, and so on. So that's what I'm doing now as I develop this particular book.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
But tell me, what have you been up to lately?
Well, that's what I've been up to lately, writing a few articles here and there,
Yes.
and a few book reviews. Trying to think of the last one I did was actually one that's right in your field.
What's it called?
Let me see if I can put my hands on it.
Yes.
This is basically your shelf.
Oh yes, I am taking all those books. Oh, I'm.
No, not all. Not all of them.
Yes.
I'm trying to see where. It might be somewhere else. I don't see it here.
But what was it about?
This is a book by Dale Johnson.
Dale Johnson, yes.
Who was he died a couple of years ago.
Right.
And a dear friend of mine, actually.
Yes.
And he was a colleague at Rutgers University.
And I know you were at Rutgers for a while.
30 some odd years.
Ooh, wow.
I think it's over here. Oh, here, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
This is it.
Social Inequality, Economic Decline, and Plutocracy.
It's
Is this my copy?
Yeah, you can have
Yes,
it.
yes. This is Social Inequality, Economic Decline, and Plutocracy, an American Crisis by Dale L. Johnson.
It is not autographed. No, it's not autographed because it's a review copy.
Okay.
That the publisher sent to me. And so I reviewed.
Have you written the review of my book as yet? You should publish a review.
No. Not yet.
Yes.
Not yet. But Dale, his specialty was he's a Latin Americanist.
Okay.
And he lived in Chile for a long time. Anyway.
And here's
that's my latest review.
Critical political theory and radical.
Title. Absolutely terrible title.
Yes.
Why they did that?
Yes. But there's been a lot of talk about critical race theory and what they're doing in Florida. And here is this book, Critical Political Theory. I guess they would not want to publish this. I would not want to share this book. Because actually it's for community colleges. They're saying that college you cannot actually. So Dale Johnson is a retired sociologist living in Costa Rica and Professor Emeritus of Sociology at Rutgers University. The book was inspired by his view of the deteriorating situation in the United States and his roots as a 1960 student activist and young critical sociologist. He is the author of 7 books and numerous articles in journals. Okay, this is nice. Looking forward to reading it.
A couple of a number of his other books as well here. He also edited some very important early stuff on dependent development.
Yes,
dependency theory.
Okay.
Yeah. And he and another good friend of mine, Jim Cockcroft,
Yes.
who's an expert on Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
They work together on this, and there's some very well known names.
And he was one of your students, right?
No, he's my colleague.
Colleague, okay.
He's my colleague. He taught me. I didn't teach him.
If you see the book that I wrote, I talk about an dependent capitalism, because I believe that a lot of the Caribbean islands, when they got their independence in the 60s, what they negotiated was an independence that was more dependent capitalism, and he talks a lot about that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. A dependency theory. It's the phrase that I love.
Yes.
To describe, what happened in so-called third world countries.
Yes.
They're not called that anymore.
Not anymore. They say global south.
Yeah, the global south. It's called it's called the development of underdevelopment.
Say that again?
The development of underdevelopment.
Ooh, the development of underdevelopment. Yes.
In other words, these countries, Jamaica included,
yes,
they're not underdeveloped.
No.
They're developed in a certain kind of way. In a dependent kind of way.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true.
We call them also nowadays they're called the post-colonial countries.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that's the theme of a lot of his work. This work is actually more about the United States.
Right.
And I have some criticisms of it, but
yeah.
There's my dog.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
Hi. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. I'm a mentee, a protege of this great man. I even wrote a book. Many of my thoughts and ideas influenced by this great gentleman here. And you are?
I'm Hannah.
Hannah, a daughter or
wife? I'm the wife.
I am so awful. I've never met you.
No, I know. Well,
but you know what? It's a compliment because you are young and
18 years younger.
18, yes.
And you're also being recorded right now.
You are being recorded. It's a podcast. It's a podcast. I'm gonna share it with the world.
It even looks like an old-time cassette.
Yes, and the podcast, which is and it's an audio podcast. It's not video. You can, so I like that. Radio is coming back, but it's in podcast.
Right.
So are we talking about all things, what's going on with him, catching up about what I'm doing?
Great.
Yes. I'm telling you, man.
I want this dog to terrorize.
That's good. He's nice.
Introducing him.
Thaned you so much.
Yeah,
good to see you.
Enjoy your time.
Yeah, man. This is my guy, man. I tell you, a great person who has contributed significantly to thought and to academia. And when you have an opportunity to sit down and prick his brain, and to also, he doesn't like to be in the spotlight, just so you know. He does not like to be in the spotlight. But when you get a chance to, where you could journal him, you have to, because in the future, we have posterity. We have something on record with this great gentleman. He doesn't think he has done.
That's wonderful.
He has done. Yes, thank you so much.
See you later.
See you later.
See you around cocktail time.
Yes. Yeah. So now you're retired. Are you still doing any work at Rutgers?
No. I haven't set foot at Rutgers of course, since the plague.
Oh.
I don't get out anymore.
Yes.
From the old Phil Oakes song, I ain't marching anymore. And he was referring to the Vietnam War.
Oh, yes.
And now I'm referring to my age.
Yes.
So I ain't marching anymore. I don't go to demonstrations.
Right.
Often. I did go recently down to a Starbucks not far from here, maybe.
Yes.
Near Pennington. And the Starbucks workers are organizing all over the place.
Yes.
And some of my DSA comrades were there to show their support for the workers, the Starbucks workers. And we had it's not really a sit-in, but we sort of all got together and had coffee there, and when we went up to get our coffee, we extended our greetings and our solidarity and our feelings, wishings for good luck and so on.
Right.
We all had our Starbucks union buttons on and so on. It was very, very nice. About a dozen people, all youngsters compared to me.
Yes.
And even you.
Yes.
These are people typically in their
20s,
mid-20s.
Yes, that is true. But you see,
mid-20s to 30.
You see what's going. Even yesterday, I actually was watching the news and I saw there's an issue going on with. We talk about deunionization, and the issue about deunionization, we were talking about it back in 2012, 2011, looking at deunionization, as we think about neoliberal globalization, but you see what's going on with many of these companies, Amazon. The young people are organizing. They're demanding for you because unions were kind of dying out. It's as if the people.
Well, they're still very weak. They're still extremely weak, and they're still, in terms of their union density, their proportion of workers in the economy.
Yes.
It's still down.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
And you organize a Starbucks shop. What are you talking about? You're talking about 10 people.
Yes,
15 people.
Right.
And that's not going to do it. It's going to be. They would have to be all over the country.
Yes.
And Amazon would have to be all over the country.
Yes.
Of course, Amazon warehouse, that's a couple of thousand people.
Yes.
That's a little bit more significant.
Mm-hmm.
And they could really put the wrench in the machinery.
I'm telling you, I was watching it and I read a report. I saw thousands of, and it's different Amazon warehouses and stores are actually the young people are coming together and demanding change, demanding to be represented. If the NBA can have players' unions and many of these wealthy corporations, wealthy institutions like the NBA, basketball, sports, they have unions and they make a lot of money. But you notice people who work pittance, it's as if they can't organize.
Well, it's going to be difficult for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, the law is not sympathetic. The current administration is sympathetic, and the current National Labor Relations Board is sympathetic. Yes. But that can change in 2 years, in 4 years. That can all be reversed.
Yep, and that's the problem. That when you have an election and the new party goes in power, then whatever you do 4 years ago becomes that you create new policies.
Which simply means that you can't depend on that. You have to only depend on yourselves.
That is true.
On themselves.
Yes.
Anyway, I keep. I published a book in 1985 called White Collar Politics with Monthly Review Press. And I'm looking at some of the stuff I wrote then. And there's a chapter there on the proletarianization of the professional.
Okay. Explain some more.
In which I talk about the early strivings of unionization among white collar workers, upper level professional, even doctors,
right,
nurses and so on, in the early days in the 80s, and all the stuff I wrote back then, I'm thinking, gee, I predicted this. I said this is going to happen. This is happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely.
And there's a chapter called The Hidden Proletariat, which is about women office workers.
Yes.
And at that time, the only women office workers that were really organized in unions was a union called 925.
Oh,
925. Wow. A local 925 of the, whatever it was, Service Employees International Union. 9 to 5 was also the name of a movie.
Oh, yes, yes. That movie sounds familiar.
With Jane Fonda and a couple of other people. A really great movie. I think she was in it. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so in that chapter, I basically foretold that this group of workers, women office workers, clerical workers, this was going to get more and more organized.
Yes.
So now we have this weird expression, intersectionality. Whatever the hell that means.
Mm-hmm.
But that chapter is about intersectionality because it's about women and workers as they are interlinked.
Right.
It's not just about workers. It's not just about women.
Right.
It's about women workers. It's a special situation.
Yes.
That's what they now call intersectionality. Throw in race and you go, black women workers in whatever field.
Yes.
That's intersectionality, right?
Right.
That's the whole ball game.
Yes.
So where do you intervene? Do you intervene on the women's
side,
the
or
gender end, on the race end, or on the class end?
Yes.
And that is the problem.
That is the problem. And I didn't even realize that you had written a book about that. And recently I published a paper that talks about the problem of change is that depending on who you are as an individual, it will affect the position that you take. But say, for example, you have women who are fighting for gender equality, but then when you throw race in the mix, what about black women or white women who are also fighting? Everybody takes a particular side, and if we are not as united, then that's a problem, because you have the issue of race, but you have the issue of gender as well, and then you have the issue of the working class. All of those issues come together. But if we're able to come together on all of those issues, or just instead of lifting up various issues, and probably that's why change is so difficult, because it's so categorized.
The problem of unity is difficult. Well, for years.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother story. It's too complicated.
It is complicated, and I think, and we talk about change is complication. I mean, society needs complication because it's difficult for you to sort through the complication. And when society is complex, then change is not easy.
Exactly.
And then intersectionality, when you start to study this issue of intersectionality, you could see how difficult, how complex and cumbersome some of these issues are, and so on.
I think the term was only invented in 1984.
I
read about it recently.
Yes.
And when it first only recently became kind of popularized in certain circles. And I'm looking at it as a sociologist, and I'm thinking, didn't I teach something like that in introductory sociology? It's called role diffuseness.
Oh.
Because people do play more than one role in society.
Yes, in society,
they are, male citizens, members of a religious group, union members. They play many roles.
Yes.
And those roles come into conflict.
That is so true. Because, say for example, women who are fighting for gender equality, but then you have other women who are fighting not only for gender equality, but just for equality as black women, but for Caucasian women, they are fighting for gender equality. Black women are fighting for not just gender equality, but equality. And there is this clash. There's no, and then there's no unity. As if, okay, why not all the subjugated groups come together and fight for just equality?
Well, more recently, I think people in recent years, people are aware of that. But for generations,
right.
Going all the way back to abolitionism.
Yes.
That was a white movement.
Yes.
and blacks were really what I'm really thinking of is women's suffrage.
Suffrage, sorry,
right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Women's suffrage is for white women.
Right.
And you know, they were not interested in black women's suffrage.
And yes.
They said, you know, let's prioritize this way.
Yes.
And the black women, of course, said, but we want to vote too. You know, what's going on here?
Yes.
So
right.
That took a long time.
That is quite.
Took a long time to overcome that problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is true.
Anyway, I want to give you some more books.
Yes. So this is great. I'm here talking with Martin Oppenheimer, someone who I am very deeply indebted to. And he actually also worked at Lincoln as a professor, head of department once before. He was telling me, and that many years ago, and of course UPenn, several schools you've worked with.
Oh, before Rutgers.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story actually.
We can end with this story.
It's a long story.
Oh yes.
I'll make it short, right?
All right, fine. Yes.
I happened to be teaching at Vassar College of all places. In 1966.
Before I was born,
that.
Guys.
Before you were born,
yes.
Yeah, really. And the president of Lincoln University hunted me down. I don't know exactly how. I think because the provost at Lincoln University was a very fine gentleman named Charles Hamilton.
Yes.
Chuck Hamilton. He's very well known. Went on to do bigger and better things. And he must have run across something that I wrote.
Oh, yes.
Because I'd written something about the Civil Rights Movement and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in 1960. That was my dissertation. It was on SNCC, right? So so the president of Lincoln University, a white man named Marvin Wachman, reached out, I hate that expression, reached out to me. He picked up the phone and called me, and he said, Marty, I want you to come down to Lincoln University.
Yes.
To join the department. And at Vassar, this is 1968, actually.
Yes.
All hell was breaking loose, big explosions in many campuses at the time, including at Vassar.
Yes.
And we had a department at Vassar of literally 4 people, including one anthropologist and one social worker.
Okay.
And one other guy and me. So I went to the president of Vassar College, a historian. I said, forgotten his name. I said, look, we need more resources in this department. I've had this very interesting offer from Lincoln, but if you build out this department, that would be cool. And he said, famous words, I wish you well, Martin. In other words, I ran up the flag and he didn't salute.
Oh!
So I ran down the flag and took off.
Yes.
With my then wife.
Yes.
And baby.
Right.
And I was there for 2 years. I realized, of course, 1968.
Yes.
We were a department of 3-4 people. Myself, an elderly gentleman who had been there since the Middle Ages, practically. A community organizer, social worker guy, and an anthropologist. The older guy was the chairman of the department, a black guy.
Yes.
And he was kind of, getting really over the hill.
Yes.
In between my first and second year there, he died.
Oh, wow.
So I became the chairman of the department. Now I realized immediately, or I had realized it from the beginning, that this is no place for a white department chairman.
Yes.
So I went out and recruited my replacement, including, and then also an assistant professor, the woman I was mentioning before.
Yes.
I've forgotten the name of the guy. He came, everything was cool, so we left. So then I thought, where am I going to go? At that time, the thing to do for left-wingers like me was to go to a proletarian state university.
Yes.
So luckily, I stumbled into a job at Livingston College, Rutgers University.
Yes.
Which was just then only 2 years old.
Oh.
A new college.
Yeah.
Specifically for underserved, as we call it nowadays.
Yes.
Underserved students, especially black students.
Right.
Although black students were never more than 20%.
Right.
There, at Rutgers College at that time, they were only like 2%.
2%. Okay.
So this was then immediately tagged as, that's the black college. Livingston College.
Right.
You don't want to go there. That's the black college. Which it wasn't. It was only about 20%.
Right.
Some very interesting black faculty, including Imamu Baraka, was briefly on the faculty before they fired him.
Yes.
And so that became my home for 30 years.
Wow, and that's great. And then you went to Penn and you influenced other people there.
Well, that was after I retired from Rutgers.
From Rutgers, okay, nice.
Part-time gig at Penn, which I enjoyed immensely.
Yes.
Evening.
That
college.
evening, yes, and that's when
Adults,
I'm
serious people.
Serious people, and
most of whom were working people.
Yes.
Yes, I enjoyed it immensely.
So then, so as we wrap up with what's going on in the world, with Russia, with what's going on with the elections and Florida trying to remove critical theory, as we wrap up, what are your position on all things as we look to the future and what's going on now?
I think things like I feel very, very pessimistic at the moment.
Yes.
Especially about the war.
Yeah.
On and on, more and more people getting killed, this is just so tragic.
Yes.
It's tragic anywhere, but in a way, it happening in Europe where one thought this would never happen again.
Yeah. Yes. Wow.
So.
I mean,
that's grim, and then we still have the plague to deal with.
Yes.
And then the right wing, of course, in the United States, as in other countries, is growing immensely.
Mm-hmm.
That's very frightening.
It is.
I've been writing a lot about fascism.
Yes.
I don't see this as fascism, actually, although there are elements
of it
of fascism
in
it. But as somebody recently wrote, to call Donald Trump a fascist is an insult to fascism. Because fascism is far more sophisticated than
yes.
Far more. They have much deeper vision of how society can be transformed.
Right.
Not necessarily in a good way.
Yes.
But a vision.
Right.
Donald Trump's only vision, and most of the autocrats around the world, their only vision is grabbing a piece of the action for themselves,
and that is true.
Glory and money.
You're right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on this show, the Neoliberal Round Podcast. And please, guys, for those of us who are joining us, send us your feedback and share this show with your friends. And please support the show at https://anchor.fm/the neoliberal/support. Have a great day and take care. That was Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer, and we are so gracious, and I was so gracious and humbled to have been able to have the opportunity to interview this scholarly gentleman with a lot of knowledge. And after we ended the interview, we continued to explore other books and explore other things, and I was able to catch some of it for you, and it is called After the Interview. So thank you so much for listening to the Neoliberal Round podcast, and you can continue to listen to us, because at the end of this, right after I conclude this, then you will actually have a chance to hear some 11 minutes of Dr. Martin Oppenheimer sharing some more about various things and various books and dropping knowledge. So thank you so much, and we invite you to support this program. https:// the neoliberal /anchor.fm/ which is / the neoliberal /support. And actually, he chided me, Dr. Oppenheimer chided me saying, they didn't hear that. You need to say it slower. So I'm repeating myself here so that those of us who don't hear it can hear it again. This is the Neoliberal Corporation, serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. And listen at the end of this for more with Dr. Martin Oppenheimer. How to Read Donald Duck by Dorman.
Ariel Dorfman is a Chilean. This book was burned under the Pinochet regime.
Oh, that same book about how to read Donald Duck?
That same book, yeah.
How to Read Donald Duck, wow. But it's about cultural imperialism, so definitely I could just imagine how it creates a problem. Oh, nice.
This
that book, wait, what? Who wrote this book?
My student.
Oh, wow. It says The Social Origins of Democratic Socialism in Jamaica.
I thought you knew about this book.
I have never seen that book before at all. And and I just wrote a book that looks at democratic socialism in Jamaica. But this is quite interesting.
No kidding.
Is it new?
No. Where is it? Where's the copyright thing? The Temple University Press.
Temple. So so she went to Temple University.
1992. And it's by a man and wife couple.
Oh, yeah, actually,
Nelson,
yes. I know this book.
Novella.
I know this book. I know the book. While I was at Penn, yes, I actually did some readings in this book for my book.
I probably referred.
Yes, you did refer me to this book, yes.
Nelson is a Jamaican.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're both Jamaican.
Right.
He's black. She's white. He teaches someplace in Pennsylvania.
Nelson Keith.
Both of them are professors. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, in two different colleges.
I got to seek them out. I got to interview them.
They might be retired by now.
Probably, yes.
You can certainly have this.
Yes, because this book is necessary. Because I teach a course in Jamaica, but in pro bono, I don't really get paid for it. It's called Caribbean Thought. Yes, and Caribbean Perspective. We look at Caribbean perspectives, and I don't know how many. The course that I taught, another professor taught it, called Dr. Garnet Roper, who was the president for the seminar but this book was not on the curriculum, and that's the problem. A lot, these Caribbeans. C.L.R. James, A History of Pan-African Revolt.
You can't have that.
Oh yes, I will get a copy of that one. History of Pan-African Revolt.
Well, his classic, I have here also somewhere. Where is it?
So you said you are 91, but so I know. So I have to get myself a wife. I'm still single. Yes. I have to get my, because you said you're 91 years old, and I'm just so impressed. And you said that a loving wife keeps you healthy, keeps you fit and alive. That's good.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you look good. Yes, you look good.
Where the heck is my copy of C.L.R. James? The one about what is it called? Something. The word Jacobins is in it. The classic one about
I know which one.
The revolutions in Hispaniola.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about. Let me see.
Because my copy of that should be here. My copy is falling apart. I had to tape it up.
Let me see. C.L.R. James. Let me see what book that one is called. Let me bring it up here. Seriously, we have C.L.R. James. Open. The Days in Paradise. The Black Jacobins?
Yes.
The Black Jacobins, yes?
That's the one.
And they even wrote a book about cricket, Beyond a Boundary.
This is
Oh, the Black Jacobins. Oh, nice. That's the book, right? So you see, that is this famous book, the Dominican Revolution, Santo Domingo Revolution.
It's the equivalent of Leon Trotsky's History of the Russian Revolution. You want a book about fascism?
Yes, definitely. Let me pick my Fascism in Spain. Nope. The Syndicating Tradition on Italian Fascism, Peron and the Enigmas, Italian Fascism in Spain, The Voice of My Blood Cries Out by Kahn, German, and Jews against Hitler.
Are you ready for
The Coming of the Third Reich?
That's before. Maybe not quite your.
No, well, history is important. The origin of totalitarianism.
That's Hannah Arendt.
Oh.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, that one I'll probably grab a hold of and read it through as I study power and totalitarianism, looking at Russia, China. Yes.
What's this one? Oh, Wilhelm Reich. The Mass Psychology of Fascism.
The Mass Psychology of Fascism.
Which one might be interesting for you?
Yes, as I study power, privilege, status, position.
This would be the one, but I need to keep this one.
What's it called?
Anatomy of Fascism.
Well, let me take it and then bring it back. I'll bring it back, definitely.
No, you won't. I never get books back.
That's true. That's true. You're right. So I'd probably just add it when I go online, purchase it later on. You have an amazing bookshelf with just everything you need. If you're writing about power, privilege, status, and position in human society. But I come visit and grab one. But this is enough.
This is about 25% fewer books than before we moved here from Princeton. Let me look at a couple of other things here for you.
Yes.
Here's one. This is a nice history book.
Dark Continent, Europe's 20th Century by Mark Mozor?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, nice. It's perfect.
It's got
Democracy Transformed, The Social Contract in Crisis.
It goes all the way down to...
Wow, Sharks and Dolphins, The Collapse of Communism, Hitler's New Order, The Crisis of Capitalism.
You get the whole picture.
Perfect,
right
yes. This is perfect. This is good. All right. So when I come back, I'll probably see what else I need to add to my as I study get ready to.
Put in the car. Huh?
Yes, I'm going to put these in shortly. Yes.
And this was published. $19.99. Yeah. $19.99. Okay. So these I've marked off a couple.
Immigration, spatial, and
African American employment.
Comparative analysis of immigrants. and African Americans.
Yeah, about 2 weeks from now, I'm going to want this book.
Yes, well, I've read it through and through. Immigration and Opportunity, Race, Ethnicity, and Employment in the United States. This is good. This is perfect.
Are you interested in baseball?
Yes, I'm interested in all things. I'm very interdisciplinary.
I think this might be in Spanish. No.
Oh, English.
I want to keep this.
All right, no problem.
That's by Jim Cockcroft and the other ones.
Oh, that's one of the guys that wrote the book with Dale.
Yeah.
Hispanics in the U.S. economy.
Well, okay.
Nice. Anti-immigrant, yes.
People who we don't want any more. We don't want any more. No.
I read all things because it's good to have a different perspective, even if it's anti something and I'm for it. I still want to read it to see how they think, what makes them think, what is their argue, the logic behind their position. The Eclipse of the Community.
Those are very old.
Old books, yes.
These are all classic sociology stuff.
Good.
Community studies and so on. Okay, that'll keep you out of trouble for a little while.
Yes. The Making of Black Revolution. This is interesting. New Forward by Julian Bond. Foreman.
James Foreman was a leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Yes.
And then also he hooked up in Detroit with the League of Revolutionary Black Workers.
Right.
This is as close to a really thoughtful, intellectual history of that period.
Right.
By a participant.
Yes.
Died, unfortunately,
Ah.
too soon.
James Foreman?
Yeah.
Ah. What happened?
Illnesses.
Yes.
Whatever. Don't worry, the police. He was not shot by the police.
Yes.
No.